What's going on, guys? Killer6 back with another hotfix video for you guys. This is actually my first hotfix video for Wonderlands. I didn't cover the previous hotfixes because they were all pretty minor, but this one's a game changer, and there's some really good stuff in here, and there's some stuff that I feel is probably not the right direction, but I'm not the devs. I don't have the grand scheme of things in front of me. I don't know what's coming in the patch, which is probably just a week away, honestly, at this point. So let's dive in to all this juicy information. Starting off, we got a new weekly event coming up. Now, the last weekly event did not work for me at all. I don't know if you guys had any luck with it, but the loot enemies did not ever seem to appear for me on Mount Crawl or on Tanglewood. So I don't know, like I think I maybe had a couple, maybe 2 or 3, but that's probably what I would have gotten normally anyhow. I don't know. Anyhow, but this weekly event is Fortunate Encounters. Dice from random encounters in the overworld will now drop more loot and moon orbs. Yeah, I don't know about this one, man. Like I don't like to do the random encounters. They just seem to slow down the pace of the game. But you know, if you do manage to like end up in one by accident, which you can always dodge them by punching the enemy in the overworld or running away from them. I get a lot of people that don't seem to know that you can punch the enemy to dodge these random encounters, but if you end up in one anyhow, you should get more loot from the dice at the end of the encounter. So you know, at least it's rewarding, I guess. All right, now the Chaos Chamber feature run is going to be updated, and the last time around we had Pigwort and Parasite. This time around we're gonna have the King and the Banshee. The King is just like a Cyclops guy, and Banshee is a pain in the ass. So this week's featured event should be interesting. So we'll see how that goes. Now on to what you're really here for, the actual changes that we're getting in the game, not just the events. All right, so they are fixing an issue that caused the achievement after completing Walk the Stalk to not be awarded. I hadn't heard about that happening to anybody, but I'm glad that they're fixing things like that. They patched a hole in Queen's Gate. I'm guessing people were getting outside of the map or something. Fate makers who do not own the Butt Stallion pack are now able to drop and sell cosmetic items from it if they picked it up during the gameplay. I've seen this happen to a couple people, like a Butt Stallion cosmetic thing would drop, and because they didn't own it, they could pick it up, but then they couldn't sell it or get rid of it. It was really weird. So at least now they can get rid of it. All right, now for the Chaos Chamber aspects, which is what I'm referring to as the raid bosses inside the Chaos Chamber, the very tough bosses that you have to like go through some extra things to actually unlock. They and the maker will now have a chance, an increased chance to drop their dedicated gear. Now, my only issue with this is that their dedicated gear is all things that can world drop, and I really feel like that's a huge mistake when you have bosses like this, and they're a lot of fun to fight, by the way, but when you have bosses like this and they just drop things that you can get by like going to the barf bunnies, it's like it kind of ruins it a little bit. Now this one I'm pretty excited about. They have listed on here that Tiny Tina has completed the item cards, the quad bow and the thunder anima. Now both of those had been like seen in the data mining before, and people knew that they were in the game, so I'm glad that they fixed it so that those can actually drop now, and both of those can world drop, as a matter of fact. So probably your best bet is barf bunnies, since you know dedicated drops are so wonky in this game right now. Now they're giving customization drops a whole new look. It says here they're recoloring the loot beam and outline to a better yellow color. I'm not sure why yellow. That might be confusing with legendaries, but I hope not. We'll see. So they won't get confused with purple epic gear. The lost loot machine will now no longer confuse them with epic gear either, so you shouldn't have items getting pushed out by cosmetics in your lost loot machine. So that's a good change right there. The item card now has also been switched to match common item cards, and the audio cue for their drop is no longer the same as epic gear. So no longer will you hear that sound of an epic drop and think, oh sweet, something good, and then turn around and it's the cosmetic. Additionally, you can now sell customizations for twice as much at a vending machine. And I think at level 40 they were selling for like 6,500, somewhere around there, I'm not sure. So it looks like probably around 12,000 or so you'll be able to sell each customization for. So if you do find them, at least you can sell them for more money, which is good because money is really hard to get in this game. And this is the point of the hotfixes where I have to say I am not happy about something, and I'm really not happy about this one. The all skill from the Clawbringer, it now passively properly scales to Fate Maker instead of giving a flat rate. This is a change that should be made at some point. But right now, the Clawbringer is undoubtedly, in most people's minds, the overall weakest character. Taking away one of the things that that character has that actually gives them some pretty good damage, I don't think that's a good idea. That said, we don't know what's coming in the patch next week. Maybe it's going to be a bunch of buffs for Clawbringer, but they wanted to go ahead and balance this thing. I'm not sure why they wouldn't just wait until next week if that's the case. So I don't know. I think this is just a bad idea overall to take away that extra scaling, which again, it's not working as intended. It's not like they're nerfing the character. They're fixing a skill that's doing more damage than it should. But right now that character needs some damage. So yeah, that I'm not super keen on that one. All right, then there's a huge list of spell adjustments, and I'm not going to go through them all. I am going to say a couple of things. Sigil spells have their base damage increased by 200%. That could be real huge right there. You might see a lot of people switching to sigils. I have not used sigils very much myself because, the damage in general is just kind of weak. Also, I'm a very mobile player. I don't like to sit in one spot, so sigils are generally not great for me in that regard either. Now, there's some weapon balance adjustments, and I'm happy about this first one. Sniper rifles get a 20% damage buff across the board. It seems like a lot of the legendary snipers use way too much ammo per shot. I know that there's one that uses like 5 ammo per shot or something like that, and it's just a bit much, especially since you have such a low capacity on ammo. I would love to see a increase in the overall ammo capacity for sniper rifles, and that would probably lead me more to using snipers. But this is a good change because at least on a normal playthrough, as you're going through the story, you can pick up a sniper rifle, use it, and feel satisfied with it. For end game, I don't see people switching away from pistols and SMGs, honestly, because of this change. There's a huge buff to magic poison SMGs. They found that these guns weren't being appreciated as it was taking a 1.5 second for them to ramp up to competitive levels, so they're removing that delay and including it as part of the base damage that the gun does. So if you have a magic poison SMG, hang on to those. Now, one thing to note, the most popular magic poison SMG, the White Rider, the dual beam damage scaling remains unchanged, it says, overall increasing the damage each beam deals due to the Dahlia scaling change. The damage of the White Rider's single beam was getting scaled twice. The damage was close to what we were aiming for before the buffs, but due to the additional increases, they've reduced this modifier's form by 11.8%. So the dual beam on the White Rider sounds like it's going to become good, and it sounds like the single beam is going to have a little bit of a damage reduction, but overall it's still going to be pretty strong, I believe. Now here's where shit hits the fan, and forgive my French, but you guys are going to be pissed about these, and I'm kind of pissed about these. That said, hear me out. Maybe these aren't as bad as they sound, but they sound bad. The Masterwork Handbow damage scaling has been reduced by 30.8%. The Masterwork Handbow crit damage bonus has been reduced by 50%. The Catatumbo damage scaling has been reduced by just 6.67%. Not even sure why you even do that for such a low percentage, but whatever. The Queen's Cry damage scaling has been reduced by 15%. Pookie's Chew Toy damage scaling has been reduced by 28.8%. Ruby's Spite damage scaling has been reduced by 30.8%. And then we got some buffs. Automagic.exe damage scaling has been increased by 50%. The Gluttony damage scaling has been increased by 15.4%. They've also increased the reload speed on the Message, which is a Torg pistol, a legendary pistol, by 50%. And I don't think that's going to be enough to make people want to use that gun because the damage is just really bad on it in general. And then the big one, they've changed how the liquid cooling damage was calculated as it scaled up in levels. It was dealing far more damage than intended. And I don't think anybody will disagree that it's dealing way more damage than they probably intended. It remains to be seen how much of a reduction they're going to give the liquid cooling. If I can still shred with the liquid cooling, I'm going to be happy, because the trade-off of the liquid cooling has always been that if you use it too much, you are going to be out of ammo. That's the trade-off. There's always going to be a trade-off with these things that do crazy damage. And that to me always felt like it was the thing that kept kept that gun kind of in balance. That said, I'm okay with a little bit of a reduction on it, just a little bit, as long as it's not too crazy. But the wording on all of these reductions is that it's reducing the damage scaling. Now that's the same thing that they did with the Dahlia assault rifles in the previous hotfix, and it didn't seem like that was much, but nobody had an issue with Dahlia assault rifles, just like I haven't heard anybody have an issue with the Masterwork Handbow, the Catatumbo, Queen's Cry, the Pookie's Chew Toy, the Ruby Spite. I haven't heard anybody have any issues with how any of these guns were working, so I don't know why they felt the need to push this change. If it were up to me, I would not do any of those, but whatever. And then finally, they are doing some changes to the hero backstory, the Twist of Fate adjustments. Now, these are the things that cannot be changed after you pick them when you make a new character. So we got the Village Idiot option. They've added a -3 wisdom penalty. That's good, because the Village Idiot was absolutely the dominant choice, because that just gave you pure crit damage without any kind of penalty. So it's good to see that they put a penalty on there, and I'm absolutely fine with that. Raised by Elves, they increased the dexterity from +2 to +4. They've increased the attunement on Raised by Elves from 0 to +2, so a couple double buffs there for Raised by Elves. Failed Monk, they increased the wisdom bonus from +4 to +6. They've also increased the intelligence bonus from +2 to +3. And then Rogue Alchemist, they've increased the attunement from 0 to +2. So a few buffs there for your starting characters when you're choosing your hero backstory thing. So again, some really good stuff in this hotfix, and some really head scratching stuff in this hotfix. I don't know. It remains to be seen again what damage scaling actually entails. The wording is so vague and it sounds scary. So I don't know. Hopefully it's not as bad as I'm thinking it is, but anytime you see that something's crit damage has been reduced by half and it wasn't even something that most people were using, I just don't understand it. So hopefully this isn't so bad. I don't know. We'll find out soon. If you want to come see these changes in action, I'm going to be on my Clawbringer today over on twitch.tv/killer6. So I hope to see you guys over there. You guys have a wonderful day. Take care.